Hello, brothers and sisters of light and dark. Welcome to my page. My page is about common sense. I tried to keep it down under the nitty gritty, under 10 minutes. And if it goes over 10 minutes, there's something very fucking important I have to say. And it's not important to liberals, libertards, people who believe in God, people like to smoke, people like to drink, people like ayahuasca, people like DMT, people who don't like asking questions, people who are sticking in the muds. There are those people who are sensitive. There are those people who are just, biased, okay, or bigots, okay. These individuals are not, these videos are not for you. You're not ready for me. There will be something in the video that I'll piss you off because you're sensitive, and I told you not to be sensitive because you're not mature enough in your emotions. But other than that, okay, I'm hyperbolic. Okay, what do you call it? Myopic, hypoxic. Yeah, I can't see far away. Okay, right. When you can't see it far away, I am basically farsighted, correct? Okay, I think that's the terminology for it, but I get mixed up with those terms sometimes. Let's go on with the subject for today. If you have any comments, questions, insults, or even roast fest, you put it down below. I speak very quickly because I'm intelligent, okay? And most people who don't speak quickly are not very intelligent, which is a fact, okay? And every time I talk to people who are slow and long-winded, I don't get anything. I don't learn anything from them at the speed and rate that they are talking. And most of the time, when I say those things earlier, if you smoke, drink, or even religious or anything like that, then you have a problem with your IQ level. Your intelligence is, your constructive reasoning is, your raison d'etre is too low for me to deal with. Now, let's get on with the subject for today. Today's subject will be about how to tell if someone's in cognitive dissonance. Another word for cognitive dissonance is self-denial. How can you tell? I'm going to tell you how to do it real simple because I do it all of the time ever since I was young. When I was younger, I always wondered about things. Curiosity causes you to have really no cognitive dissonance or even no self-denial, because if you have actually ever pondered time into yourself in isolation like I have for so many years, then you will understand what cognitive dissonance is. A psychological term for those who are simply in self-denial. I love psychology and I try to keep it simple, but if you really want to understand human behavior, you should study eugenetics. That gets down to the core and the nitty-gritty of things. The studies has already been done. Eugenetics beat out human behavior, hands down. But I don't want to sound like I'm racist by talking about anything scientific because that's not what my goal is. I'm trying to be simple as possible, okay? But if you want to figure someone out, I learned this from Socrates, the Greek philosopher, mathematician, okay, back in the days. And he was a warrior, he's a chief, okay? And he killed himself over hemlock because he felt his life wasn't worth it. But if you want to read about Socrates, which is one of my number one philosophers of all time, and also Heraclitus, which turns fire into water scientifically, and also Mahatma Gandhi, even though he was slightly racist against Kafirs, okay, or low-life minority Negroes, okay, that's another subject. But if you want to really know someone's in cognitive dissonance, you do this one thing that Socrates always has said. He says that no one knows nothing. But if someone claims to say they know something, and depending on the context of what it is, you start asking questions. And it's called the Socratic questioning technique. Or you may see a different name. It's Socratic, I forgot the Inquisition, okay? There's many different names for it. I know this. You can look it up yourself. And when you start asking questions, one question will lead to another. This is why I don't really have big conversations with people who smoke or drink or even have religious context in their life. They believe in God, and then you have to debunk it by telling them about their fallacy in their head and their delusion. When you do this, it can only go but so far. You stop it early. You don't continue on because their raison d'etre, which is reason to be, their ID is not fully developed. Like in children, I usually tell my daughters all the time, if you want to be really smart, you question everything. You question everything. That is the cream of the crop, the first cream of the lily. You want to call it whatever you want. You are curious enough to ask a question, do the research, and find out and discover yourself that you are not wrong. Once you start questioning, then another thing will occur. I will give you the pathology very clear. Like every time I will meet a female, or so I would say, I'm a holy man. I am the cream of the crop. I am the alpha male that should be. And I'm speaking of this so you would know who I am. Not being narcissistic. Is this how I was raised? To know who I am. If you have any questions, please ask. When people don't ask questions, there's already something with their cognitive dissonance. There's already something wrong there. People who are not inquisitive, people don't ask questions. There's already something wrong there. I'm telling you, that's a fact. And I can prove it to you. So when you go up to a religious person and say, why do you believe in God? It's your life. Do you believe your God is the way it is because of God? And then you try to ask them, okay, how did you see any evidence that God has actually helped you? But they'll think about hypotheticals. They'll be thinking like, I walk down the street, I'm still living every day because of God. I said, what about air? Okay. What about the food that you eat? He said, all those are given by God. But where's God? My whole purpose and question is, where is the evidence of the God that helped you? Is it a supernatural thing in your head? Is it something in your heart? And most of the time they'll say, I can feel it, but they don't have any evidence. They actually, as a matter of fact, they don't know the definition of the word evidence. It's a feeling to them. It's a euphoric connotation in their own conundrums in their own mind. They just don't know what that means. Evidence is completely oblivious to people who are religious. This is why I do not have conversations with any person who is like a deep conversation. You can't do it. Impossible. And then there'll people be trying to prove to me that I'm from God. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even know if I came from my own mother. How the hell would I know? Even though I did see photos of my mother and me looking kind of similar, that doesn't prove anything, okay? Because I haven't seen myself come out of my mother's pussy, right? That's called somatics. And then I say, what if that picture was created by some deity or something I did not see in the past? What if the sun is not real? These questions, it goes right over the head of most people. Can't you just see it through a telescope? No, it doesn't work like that. We could, hypothetically speaking, we're living in the matrix. You don't know what's real. We are all living in a form of illusion. Just because you can feel pain doesn't mean that it is real. All right? Have you watched The Matrix? Did you learn something from that? As a matter of fact, it is shown. I read some reports that some people killed themselves after they saw The Matrix because it is possible. Hallelujah. Now, I'm agnostic. Now, the thing is that with evidence and being agnostic, it's very strong here because you can't be an atheist and agnostic at the same time, okay? And if you say these key words, which are verbs, okay, like, do you believe in the possibility of a God? The answer has to be yes. A possibility. Maybe it could be, doesn't matter if it's a 0.044456. It could be a God somewhere sitting right behind this planet. You won't even know it. A possibility means agnostic. But an atheist does not believe in anything that's not scientific. That is the true definition of atheist. An atheist don't believe in no aliens, no My Little Ponies, no multiple dimensions unless they study it anecdotally. But that's a problem between people who don't know what evidence means and people who use hypotheticals, okay? Now, you can name it all you want. You can call them a theist. You can call them, people who just believe in fairy tale stuff, okay? It's good to have an open mind and say possibly they may exist. It's good to say those things and be agnostic. That is the best way to be. But you cannot say they do exist. You can't say that, okay? And then there'll be those idiots who will say, oh, prove to me that they don't exist. I said you can't because there's no concrete evidence to show anything. You can't do that. You can't say they exist because you have no evidence, because that's a fucked up fallacy, a fucked up type of argument. I'm like, how the hell do you know if I exist if you don't even know I'm there? But you see me on camera, right? Okay, you see me on camera, but you don't know if I exist, so you automatically don't believe I'm real. Okay, that's a fucked up argument. I had that conversation with someone. I said, prove to me that he doesn't exist. I'm like, what kind of conversation is that? Okay, I said, I don't know if he exists. I'm saying possibly he may exist. Is that a better word terminology for it? I think it is if you say it that way. But there are people out there who would try to make an argument with you and say to you, oh, prove to me that he doesn't exist. How the hell? Okay, you can't, because there's no concrete evidence. But that's how you can figure out someone's in cognitive dissonance. It's called self-denial. Or they'll use a distraction mechanism to blame something else for their fallacy, their convoluted stories, their conundrums in their own mind to distract from themselves to someone else. And that's a fact, okay? It's just sad. But the lowest you can go is to basically say, oh, prove to me it doesn't exist, okay? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, we're talking about evidence. Show me your evidence and I can show you mine. But they'll say their evidence is in their heart. That's not evidence. That's not evidence, babies. They don't understand the concept of the word evidence, anecdotally or anything. This is your Godhead Emerald Pillar out, okay? Because I think I said a lot right there to understand how someone can be condescending about themselves deep down inside, okay? But there's a lot of people like that. And usually the single mothers who create these bastard people in the first place causes this disease to be spread. This is why the vaccines need to be created, so we can have the dumbing down of the people of the world, especially those who don't know themselves. All right. Okay. We have to have the COVID-19. Okay. Stupid 19. Okay. But of course, to each his own. I love you all, but I hate the many of you. And that's how you can really tell. You really don't even need to do one thing to figure it out. It's by questioning. They won't do any research either. Even if you give them some kind of concrete anecdotal research that was shown on the media through hypothetical reasoning, okay, no, babies, they're not gonna fall for that. I'm out of here, guys. Hope you learned something in this video. The pathology is real simple. Start asking them questions, okay, and then you'll see your limit. Okay, peace.